Cam, what do you think of the comment there from Mike Williams?
That Tyler Van Dyke needs to be the last pro-style QB recruit Miami ever takes. No. I think that Miami needs to take the best players possible. I think that, Jake Garcia is a pro-style quarterback, and he's the highest-rated quarterback that Miami signed since Kyle Wright in 01. And he's the heir apparent to taking over this offense if Tyler Van Dyke leaves at the end of this year for next year. And Jake Garcia can play. I know that people want to try to split hairs and everything and say, Cam, you're wrong. First of all, bullshit, because I saw it. Jake Garcia was the number 2 quarterback last year before Derrick King got injured. He entered the game, the first game of the year where you go down the line and say, okay, number 2, number 3, the HBCU bye game where you're like, cool, whatever. Starters play for a little bit, and then you go down the depth chart. The first quarterback off the sideline with the helmet strapped on to go in the game was Jake Garcia before Tyler Van Dyke in the Central Connecticut State game. Now, he broke his ankle, and he didn't play after that. But at that time, he was in front of Tyler Van Dyke. That speaks to his level of ability, right? And to that point, demonstrated performance because Tyler Van Dyke hadn't done anything other than backup, mop-up duty before that. So, yeah, they were on even sledding. So that's a guy who I expect to come in and play to a high level and deliver. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we need to not have any pro-style guys. Both of the quarterbacks committed in the 2023 class, Jaden Rashada and Emory Williams, both of those guys are pro-style guys. Now, can they move? Sure. But again, there's a difference between Mike Vick, Lamar Jackson, and Aaron Rodgers. He's an athletic quarterback. He's not a sit back there statue, but you're not going to expect Aaron Rodgers to go 40 yards past you on the ground, right? But he can manipulate that pocket. He can move around and slide. He's more athletic than you give him credit for, but he's definitely a pocket quarterback or a pocket passer, pro style, whatever you want to call it, right? So no, I think that's way overblown. And I think that you need the best players, the most athletic players, and a guy like Ja'Cory Brown, who I didn't even get to, who played a really good game, had a couple of, they put him in there as the belldozer, the run option of Cam Newton, right? At Auburn. So he's not going to look to throw. We're not even going to put a pass tag on that play. No, you're going to come in here and run the ball, big fella. Fine. But if and when he develops as a passer, that is the whipped cream on top, not the foundation of the meal, right? Because you got to be able to throw that ball. But if it breaks down and, hey, look, I got room, I'm going to go. So that's a good skill set to have for sure. But I'm not going to take a guy with that skill set who's not as good a player as Jaden Rashada, who's not as good as a player as Emory Williams in this class right now. I personally disagree with that. But Mike Williams, if that's how you feel about it, then we can freely disagree. And I'm not mad at you. I'm not going to call you names or anything like that. I just do not at all share that mentality or mindset.
And Cam, since you know the recruiting game and the analysis and how these recruiting operations work, obviously not every quarterback is to the end of the spectrum, Michael Vick or Drew Bledsoe. So who makes that determination who's a dual threat quarterback and who's a pro-style quarterback? Because most of them have various levels of mobility.
The beautiful thing about it is, like 3 years ago, the recruiting industry kind of came together and they got rid of those monikers. So it's one quarterback list.
Oh, is it?
Now.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is great because you can take the athleticism into account.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it is a part of the skill set of that player, and that's fine. But it used to be the pro style passer list, and then but then you also get mismatches where, shout out to Miramar High School class of 2008-9, I want to say, graduate Eugene Geno Smith, right? But he's a 6'3" black kid from South Florida. So everybody's like, oh, he's a dual threat quarterback. Geno Smith, they know. Geno Smith buddy. If you think that, then you're wrong. But in a vacuum, if you see, okay, he's 6'3", 184 pounds, playing quarterback in South Florida. That's an athlete. That's a kid who would otherwise be at receiver. That's an Anquan Bolden. That's a whatever. That's a guy. He's not a quarterback. He's not a whatever. He has to be an athlete. So we're going to put him over in there. Geno Smith ain't been a dual threat quarterback a day in his life. And that's not a shot at Geno Smith because he's a very good passing quarterback. Set records at Miramar, set records at West Virginia. I mean, at the top of the list of the QBR in the NFL this year, current year and everything. Now, it took some while to develop, but like that's never a guy that you would think I'm going to run the same offense that I would run Lamar Jackson in. But on paper or on the internet years ago, before the industry kind of caught up, that's what people thought. He was on, and I'm like, no, this is a kid who, nope, they would keep it an extra running back, and we just, when I worked at Miramar. Speaking of, I had my first Miramar High School ID sitting right here. It's funny. But they keep an extra running back in, and then it was like, cool. So we got Terrence Gordine, Ivan McCartney, Stedman Bailey, and Dante Chambers, all four guys who play in college football at receiver. We had five offensive linemen and one running back. All them dudes can block so that Geno has time to find one of them dudes. And did. So I know that was a long detour there, but yeah, no, it's really more about the player as a whole now, as opposed to putting him in some kind of box of pocket passer versus dual threat. But yeah, I think that finding the best players possible is the better thing for me.
I've also heard some so-called analysts, and they're typically not college football guys. They are like sports guys that do some analysis here on the side. We can fill in the blank on, your debate shows where they have to be an NBA expert for one segment, then they're a college football expert and then they're boxing, and so therefore they don't know that much about anything, or maybe have their area of expertise, I should say. And I think because of that, there's been a few times where there have been some assumptions made by about the mobility of quarterbacks based on the color of their skin.
Oh, facts. Oh, big facts. Big facts.
It's been like, yes, Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace.
Yeah.
About as immobile as you would find. And I've heard a few people, analysts, talk about his great mobility, and I was like,
but again, like I say, you can even talk about that, as even to when he was in college and coming out to the NFL and everything. Yeah, rest in peace to his immortal soul. But like, come on, bro, like that's not who he is. It's just the color of his skin. But I mean, hey, that's a conversation for another day.
Yes, it is.